You close your eyes and everything fades, yet the story inside your head gains momentum. Some people think sleep is merely rest, but why then does the mind paint entire worlds, conjure voices, reenact secrets, or spin curiosities you never dared to confront by day? There's a sense of drifting into a deeper space, one where time unravels, logic morphs, and yet it all feels startlingly genuine. If sleep were nothing but inactivity, the moment your lid shut would lead to a mute void. Instead, entire narratives arise, often more colorful, more bizarre than anything you encounter in waking life. What if these sequences of images and feelings point to a hidden dimension of consciousness? Where exactly does your awareness settle during those quiet hours? Science might tell you the body is refueling, that cells are replenishing themselves, that the immune system is doing essential work. True enough, but the more you dig into the enigma of dreams, the more you sense that sleep is far from idle. In certain stages of slumber, the brain's activity rivals or even exceeds what it shows during daytime tasks. Particularly in REM, those unpredictable dream plots spring to life, rife with detail. Meanwhile, the region responsible for reason, the prefrontal cortex, steps back, which might explain why these inner stories defy normal cause and effect. The emotional circuitry, however, flares, driving dreams that pack an emotional punch we rarely permit ourselves to feel when awake. Take a moment to consider. You lie in bed, still, eyes closed, limbs heavy, appearing motionless to an observer. Yet within, there's a vibrant show unfolding, sometimes comedic, sometimes ominous, sometimes so cryptic you awaken unnerved. This dichotomy, bodily rest versus mental exploration, has baffled thinkers for centuries. Ancient texts portray dreams as divine messages. Others see them as random noise. Modern research edges closer to a middle ground, suggesting that dreams serve multiple roles: emotional processing, memory integration, perhaps even creative problem solving. One perspective sees the sleeping mind as a composer, blending fragments from recent experiences with deeper recollections you've nearly forgotten. So a conversation that unsettled you might appear in your dream, spliced together with a childhood fear. The outcome is a narrative that feels both intimately familiar and profoundly strange. You may recognize the face of a loved one, yet they speak with another's voice. You might find yourself in your old school hallway, only it's merged with the layout of your current workplace. This collage of memory shards, bound by feeling rather than logic, reminds you how flexible consciousness can be when unmoored from daytime constraints. People throughout history have reported dreams that seem predictive, glimpsing future events. While skeptics cite coincidence, it's worth noting how readily the brain builds scenarios from half-buried data. Maybe you dream about a friend you haven't seen in years, then hear from them the next day. Could it be your subconscious noticed subtle cues, leading you to anticipate the reunion? Or is it pure chance? Regardless, these stories continue to fascinate. They highlight the sense that dreams can bend time, merging past, present, and potential futures. In dream logic, linear progression means little. You might begin a scene as a child, then jump to a hypothetical old age, then flash to a parallel version of yourself who never made a certain life choice. Another quirk is that ephemeral borderland where you momentarily wake but can't move, sleep paralysis. Terrifying shadows can appear, breathing chills down your neck, a primal fear enveloping you. Across cultures, the same images recur. shadowy figures, weight on the chest, the inability to cry out. Scientists blame the mismatch between mental alertness and the still active REM atonia that prevents you from flailing in dreams. But for the person experiencing it, such knowledge rarely softens the dread. It's as if consciousness stumbles upon a forbidden backstage where nightmares remain half alive. Flip that coin, and you get lucid dreaming, a vantage point where you realize mid-dream that you're asleep, gaining some ability to alter the dream's flow. Studies show heightened frontal activity in these moments, suggesting that self-awareness pierces the dream bubble. Why, though, would evolution grant the capacity for lucid dreaming if dreams are meant to be random byproducts? One theory suggests that partial wakefulness can spontaneously arise, bridging the dream domain with reflective consciousness. Some use it for thrilling escapades, flying through cities, meeting revered figures, rewriting nightmares. This phenomenon challenges the notion that you're ever fully offline. Even in slumber, a flicker of agency remains. Time, too, behaves oddly. 5 minutes of real time can contain a winding, elaborate dream saga. Conversely, you might doze for an hour, only to recall a fleeting sequence. Explorations in sleep labs, where lucid dreamers signal from within their dreams, indicate that dream time can sometimes match actual clock time, but can also deviate. The mental sense of duration is malleable, unbound by external cues. Could it be that your brain, in the absence of stable reference points, simply warps the pace of inner events? If so, that reveals how deeply the mind shapes our perception of reality. Awake or asleep, time can be an elastic construct. Alongside these experiences, researchers ask, why do we forget most dreams? You can experience a labyrinthine storyline that feels unforgettable, only to see it vanish once your eyes open. Some experts propose that the hippocampus, crucial for forming memories, isn't as active during REM, so dream content often fails to encode. Another idea is that retaining every surreal twist might blur the line between dream and reality, causing confusion. Yet certain potent dreams cling to you for years, especially those carrying intense emotion, dread, longing, exhilaration. That emotional charge, it seems, can brand a dream more indelibly into recall. Then there's the provocative question: can you die in a dream? People say if you do, you won't wake up. But countless individuals have dreamt their own demise and returned to normal consciousness. Perhaps such dream deaths serve as metaphors for transformation, an unconscious sign of personal renewal or the severing of old burdens. Sleep and death share thematic resonance. In both states, awareness detaches from external stimuli. But whereas death is presumably final, dreaming is cyclical, letting you explore intimations of oblivion without permanent consequence. Lurking in the background is the intangible. Does the mind remain confined to the skull, or does it wander realms we can't measure? Some spiritual traditions treat dreams as visits to astral planes, ephemeral voyages beyond the physical. Mainstream science explains them via neural circuits, neurotransmitters, and memory reconsolidation. Both might hold partial truths, one emphasizing tangible processes, the other pointing to the subjective sense that dreams can surpass the ordinary. While the final verdict remains open, the effect of these nightly journeys is undeniably real. They influence moods, spark creativity, and sometimes yield solutions to problems that stumped you before bed. At an evolutionary level, dreaming might prepare organisms for challenges. The threat simulation idea posits that facing dangers in dreams conditions us to respond better when real threats arise. Alternatively, the mind might use dreams to reorganize data, forging novel links that facilitate learning. Memory studies suggest that if you dream about a newly acquired skill, you're more likely to perform better the following day. Could your nightly illusions be practicing or refining that skill on a hidden stage? The synergy of imagination, repetition, and emotional weighting might be crucial for neuroplasticity. Nightmares underscore the emotional potency of this realm. For those suffering from trauma, such as PTSD, repeated nightmares can become a tormenting loop. But therapies, like imagery rehearsal, seek to alter the script, teaching individuals to rewrite the outcome of recurring horrors. This approach harnesses the plasticity of dream content. By actively shaping how the nightmare unfolds, a person may reduce its emotional impact. It's a reminder that while dreams often feel uncontrollable, they're still part of our mental ecosystem, amenable to intervention under the right conditions. Additionally, certain disorders highlight the bizarre interplay between body and dream. REM behavior disorder, for instance, occurs when muscle paralysis fails, causing sleepers to physically act out dream scenes. Sleepwalking, on the other hand, usually emerges from deeper non-REM phases, presenting simpler, more robotic routines. These conditions reveal that the boundary between sleeping fantasy and waking motion is maintained by delicate neurophysiological processes. A glitch can fuse the two states in startling ways, reaffirming how vigorously the brain orchestrates each second of sleep. Exiting the domain of pathology, we see how dreams can also be an engine for creativity. Authors have recounted novels that began as dreams. Scientists have found insights or breakthroughs upon waking. Sometimes, a conundrum that defies daytime logic dissolves in the fluid atmosphere of sleep. Freed from rigid constraints, the mind merges concepts in fresh patterns, stumbling upon elegant solutions. One might awaken with a sense of epiphany, though the delicate memory might need quick jotting down before it dissolves in morning light. Still, we don't always want to dwell on dreams. Some pass unremarked, overshadowed by daily tasks. Others carry just enough strangeness to spark fleeting wonder. Rarely do we systematically record them, which may be why dream content remains such a mystery. Lab-based dream research provides glimpses, but it's challenging to capture the entirety of a dream's subjective flavor. The best data come from immediate reports, yet even these can't replicate the lived intensity. Maybe that's the charm of dreaming. Ephemeral, private, ungoverned. An untamed frontier in an era that strives to measure and classify everything. In bridging personal anecdote with broader theories, we find that no single perspective fully explains why and how we dream. The frameworks, emotional regulation, memory consolidation, threat rehearsal, random activation, problem solving, likely intertwine. Dreams can be a messy tapestry of all these functions at once. Some nights, you might simply be venting stress. Other nights, you're forging new associative links or even gleaning unconscious hunches that quietly shape your waking decisions. Each morning, you re-enter daily life subtly changed, whether or not you recall the transition. Underpinning it all is the recognition that consciousness itself may be fluid. By day, it focuses outward, shaped by sensory input and rational analysis. By night, it tilts inward, sifting through impressions, images, and emotional cues. If you become lucid, you realize that boundary is more permeable than you assumed. And if you drift into deep oblivion, you see how consciousness can also submerge into a silent zone, intangible yet restful. In that sense, where does the mind go might be the wrong question. It doesn't go anywhere. It shifts perspective, adopting new parameters in a cyclical dance that underwrites human existence. When your eyes flutter open in the morning, you might feel remnants of a dream's atmosphere, perhaps a lingering mood or half-remembered snippet. Soon, obligations crowd in, pushing that ephemeral storyline aside. Yet at times, the dream's emotional undercurrent influences your day. You might find yourself acting with unexplained confidence or unshakable unease, unaware it stems from an overnight resolution or anxiety. Dreams, though intangible, can direct subtle currents in your behavior, reminding you that not all mental processes are constrained to the hours of alertness. Thus, to claim that sleep is just rest is an oversimplification. The body recovers, yes, but the mind remains active, orchestrating a hidden theater. What you witness or fail to witness in that theater can still shape your psychological landscape. Once you accept that the nightly show is neither random nor entirely purposeful, rather it's both and more, you begin to grasp why so many traditions have revered or studied dreams. From ancient oracles to neuroscientists, each generation tries to decode the nightly mosaic. They discover glimmers of function and meaning, but the deeper magic persists. In an era where technology aims to quantify every aspect of life, the dream realm stands as one of the last frontiers. If the day arrives when external devices can record or manipulate dreams in real time, we'll face a new wave of ethical and existential questions. Is it right to modulate the shapes of our innermost illusions? Would that hamper the spontaneity that fosters genuine emotional processing? Even with advanced scanning tools, replicating the subjective brilliance of a dream might remain out of reach, because personal experience cannot be fully translated into data. The mind's language is simply too vast. For now, we can only embrace the nightly odyssey as a testament to how multifaceted consciousness can be. Perhaps every dream is a puzzle piece in the grand puzzle of selfhood, bridging memory, desire, fear, and curiosity. You might not solve it each morning, but you add to the tapestry over time. Little by little, your dream life can become an ongoing conversation with yourself, revealing corners of your mind that daylight seldom illuminates. And in that quiet exchange, you find something undeniably human: the capacity to wander realms of imagination while the outer world sleeps, forging stories that carry faint echoes into the day. Night draws in like a slow curtain, and once again you find yourself crossing that narrow threshold between wakefulness and slumber. If you pay close attention, you might notice subtle shifts: a warm heaviness in your limbs, gentle distortions in your thoughts, an ebbing of sharp focus. It can feel like drifting on a quiet current. Moments later, entire scenes appear behind closed eyelids. A dimly lit corridor leads to a childhood home, though something is off with the proportions. You see a friend's face who then morphs into a stranger, speaking words that trigger an uncanny familiarity. The spontaneity of these visions underscores the fundamental strangeness of dreaming. It's both intimately yours and bafflingly unpredictable. Across time, people have tried to harness these odd narratives for insight or guidance. Some keep dream journals by the bedside, determined to capture every fleeting image before it fades. Others practice meditation or self-suggestion, hoping to incubate certain themes, like seeking a solution to a pressing dilemma. Reports vary. A few wake with vivid clarity, claiming to have found answers or glimpsed truths they overlooked in the glare of day. Most, however, recall little more than disjointed fragments, if anything at all. It's as if the mind conducts its nightly symphony in secret, allowing only bits of the performance to surface. The question persists. If our brains go to such lengths to create immersive dream worlds, why allow them to dissolve so easily? Perhaps it's a protective mechanism. Storing every detail might flood consciousness with contradictory or surreal material, diluting the boundaries we rely on when awake. By forgetting, we keep daily reality crisp and intact. Alternatively, dream content could fulfill its function unconsciously, rendering conscious recall unnecessary. After all, you don't remember the intricate processes behind cellular repair, yet your body handles them nightly. The brain might treat dream creation similarly, as an essential but backstage operation. Yet not all dreams fade so quickly. Some stand out for their intensity. You might wake in a sweat, heart hammering, because you dreamed of a catastrophic event involving loved ones. Or you might emerge with tears in your eyes, having reunited briefly with someone who's gone. These emotional crescendos hint that dreams can be more than idle illusions. They can serve as emotional rehearsals, processing grief, fear, longing in a risk-free environment. When you wake, a portion of that tension may be released, or at least reframed. This function resonates with the idea that dreams help regulate our emotional states, preparing us to handle life's challenges with a balanced perspective. Consider, too, the phenomenon of dreaming about long-forgotten acquaintances or obscure memories. Suddenly, a primary school teacher you hadn't thought of in years appears in your dream. Why now? Some suggest that while you sleep, neural networks sift through layers of memory, reactivating dormant nodes. A random cue, some faint stimulus in the day, might trigger that teacher's image. Within a dream, these sparks blossom into a scene or conversation. It can be startling upon waking, like unearthing a relic from your personal museum. Another angle is that the dreamer's emotional or psychological needs summon forth these memory traces, forging symbolic narratives from them. Either way, the effect is a testament to how vast and labyrinthine the unconscious can be. Science has made progress in decoding bits of this nightly puzzle. We know that REM sleep is accompanied by heightened activity in subcortical regions, parts of the brain that deal with emotion, motivation, and drives, while areas tasked with rational oversight often quiet down. This selective activation might explain the nonsensical juxtapositions in dreams. Meanwhile, non-REM phases can yield shorter, less vivid dream snippets, yet they play a role in consolidating newly formed memories. By stitching these findings together, researchers see a tapestry, the mind cycles between states of deep physical restoration, slow-wave sleep, and imaginative internal narratives, REM, each fulfilling unique tasks that keep us healthy and cognitively sharp. Nevertheless, the deeper we go, the more riddles emerge. For instance, why do certain subjects resurface in repeated dreams? One classic example is the exam dream, where you find yourself unprepared for a crucial test. Even decades after finishing school, people report anxiety-laced dreams about failing an exam. This recurring theme might echo a generalized fear of inadequacy, or the stress of facing new evaluations in adult life. Dreams recycle the emotional template of those early experiences, applying them to current pressures. That's one reason many recurring dreams carry an undercurrent of anxiety, whether it's being chased, unable to move, or stuck giving an unprepared speech. A different subset of repeated dreams involves progressive storylines, almost like an internal TV series. You revisit the same fictional city, noticing new districts each time. Characters evolve, small plot threads continue. Over weeks or years, an entire parallel saga unfolds. This phenomenon suggests that the brain can preserve and expand a dream environment, referencing it across multiple nights. Perhaps it reflects the mind's fascination with certain themes, or the partial bridging of separate dream episodes through stable imagery. It can be strangely comforting, like returning to a second home that exists only in your sleeping hours. In some cultural traditions, these repeated motifs might be interpreted as spiritual journeys or messages from beyond. Modern psychology, on the other hand, views them as signposts of unresolved issues or persistent mental frameworks. Neither perspective invalidates the other. The dream realm consistently overlaps personal, cultural, and possibly transpersonal dimensions in ways that defy neat categorization. We see that dreams can serve as emotional venting, memory reordering, symbolic introspection, or random mind churn all at once. That multiplicity is precisely what grants dreaming its enduring intrigue. Amid these complexities, certain therapies have emerged to work directly with dream content. Beyond addressing nightmares, some approaches treat the dream as a stage for enacting scenarios that the client finds challenging when awake. By rewriting the dream in therapy sessions, altering characters, changing outcomes, the individual can reshape how they process distressing memories or social fears. Even if the dream is never perfectly replicated in actual sleep, the mental rehearsal can empower the client. It's reminiscent of the idea that if you can tweak the blueprint of your internal narratives, you might redirect how your emotions manifest. The concept of dream sharing has also been studied, while mutual dreaming, where two people claim to share the same dream space, remains unverified scientifically. It highlights a curiosity about the boundaries between personal mindscapes and collective consciousness. In more mundane contexts, simply recounting a dream to another person can deepen rapport, revealing raw emotional material that might never surface otherwise. Friends might notice parallels in each other's dreams, such as shared anxieties about job stress. This sense of mutual reflection can create bonds of empathy, even if the dream scenes themselves remain private experiences. One can't discuss dreams without touching on the possibility of gleaning profound insight. Countless anecdotes describe how inventors, scientists, and artists found breakthroughs in their dreams. A composer hears a melody. A mathematician sees the solution to a complex problem. An author envisions the entire plot of a novel upon waking. These stories fuel the perception that dreaming might access creative capacities we seldom unleash consciously. Under the usual restrictions of logic, some combinations never come to mind. In a dream, those barriers loosen, and the improbable becomes routine, sparking leaps of intuition that sometimes prove invaluable in waking life. Still, for every dream that yields a eureka moment, hundreds pass by as mundane or indecipherable. We might dream of strolling through a store, bored, or tinkering with trivial tasks that have no apparent meaning. It's possible the mind is simply reorganizing day-to-day scraps, generating scenarios to file them away efficiently. After all, not every night must hold dramatic revelations. The brain is like an immense archive. Some nights, it might do major renovations. Other nights, it shuffles mundane papers. And then there's the question of so-called alien or past life dreams, where someone claims to experience memories of a life they never lived or to interact with entities from another dimension. In mainstream science, these are generally explained as creative expansions of memory plus cultural suggestion. But those who experience such dreams sometimes regard them as glimpses into something beyond the ordinary scope of personal recollection. As with much in dream research, absolute proof is elusive. The meaning rests primarily in the dreamer's interpretation and the emotional impact it carries. Turning our lens to the body again, we see that while the mind roams ephemeral landscapes, physiology remains highly orchestrated. Sleep cycles revolve roughly every 90 minutes, each cycle including a REM phase. Early in the night, non-REM deep sleep predominates, crucial for physical restoration. Toward morning, REM stretches grow longer, resulting in lengthier dream episodes closer to waking. That's also why dreams recalled upon spontaneously waking might feel especially elaborate. The synergy between these phases ensures that both body and mind renew themselves, each in specialized ways, across the night's progression. What about those who claim they rarely or never dream? Investigations generally reveal that most people do dream, but seldom remember. Certain sleep disruptions can reduce the proportion of REM, leading to fewer dream reports. Others might not find dream content compelling enough to encode it. Yet in lab settings, gentle awakenings during REM often yield reports of fleeting images or disjointed narratives. This supports the view that dream production is universal among healthy sleepers, though individual recall varies drastically. You might chalk it up to differences in interest, genetics, or lifestyle factors. The ephemeral nature of dream recall also fosters illusions like, "I dreamed this event before it happened." If a dream remains mostly forgotten, you might only recall fragments that match a later real situation. This phenomenon underscores how memory works. We fill in gaps post hoc, building coherence where there was none initially. While that doesn't exclude genuine precognitive dreams for some people, it provides a plausible, mundane explanation for many such tales. Human cognition is adept at matching patterns and ignoring contradictions, letting illusions of prophecy arise from incomplete recollections. Regardless of debates over meaning, the dream realm remains a potent emotional theater. You can experience relationships that feel just as complex and real as those in waking life. You might reconcile with someone who hurt you or relive a painful event in hopes of transforming it. In these ephemeral dialogues, the mind can refine how you internalize interpersonal dynamics, occasionally leading to shifts in your real-world behavior. Anger, grief, yearning. Dreams can intensify them, offer partial closure, or pose new questions. You awake carrying the emotional residue, which can linger long into the day. In that sense, the mind's nightly escapades resemble an ongoing workshop for the self. While you may not always be consciously directing the activities, something within you orchestrates these symbolic stories, exploring themes that matter deeply to your emotional core. Whether it's a vestige of evolutionary threat simulations or a cosmic gateway to deeper truths, The outcome is personal transformation. Over time, even small changes can accumulate. Repeatedly dreaming about facing a certain fear might gradually erode its power, or encountering a new possibility in dream logic might spark a daytime decision. The interplay between conscious and unconscious is subtle but pervasive. Technological progress in dream research aims to detail these processes. EEG, MRI, and advanced data analysis give partial glimpses of brain states. Some scientists hypothesize that one day we might decode dream content directly from neural signals, though actual implementation remains rudimentary and fraught with ethical quandaries. If a device could replay your dream on a screen, who controls that data? Could it be misused? Dreams, after all, can contain highly personal symbols, referencing traumas, hidden desires, or private regrets. The push to map them might clash with the right to keep our inner landscapes uncharted. Yet the same technology holds promise for assisting those tormented by recurrent nightmares or crippling insomnia. If we learn to gently redirect dream content toward less distressing pathways, we might provide relief without heavy medication. We might also cultivate lucid dreaming for therapeutic or creative ends. In either case, the boundary between medical treatment and personal freedom grows delicate. Dreams are among the last realms where the individual mind reigns largely unobserved. Trammeling that autonomy could undermine the raw, self-organizing magic that seems integral to mental equilibrium. This duality between exploring and preserving the sanctity of dreams mirrors our broader tension with consciousness. We want to understand it, yet fear tampering with its mysteries. Dreams feel sacred precisely because they elude straightforward comprehension. They reveal intimacies of our psychology, yet do so in code. They fold reality, memory, and fantasy into a fleeting tapestry, which we might only half remember upon waking. In that ephemeral swirl, we glimpse how layered our inner worlds can be, how identity, memory, and emotion dance together free from external constraints. When morning arrives, the practicality of life resumes. The dream dissolves, or at best remains as a faint impression. Yet sometimes, a particular line of dialogue or an image refuses to let go, prompting you to reflect. Could it be a clue to a suppressed worry, or the solution to a puzzle you dismissed as unsolvable? Or is it just mental debris, signifying nothing? The answer, if any, belongs to you alone, shaped by the weave of personal experience. Dreams may speak to us all, but each person deciphers them through an individual lens. In the end, this second segment of our reflection underscores the dynamic interplay of memory reassembly, emotional release, spontaneous creation, and possible problem solving. Ruya is not monolithic. It's a kaleidoscope that shifts each time we close our eyes, bridging the day's turmoil with the recesses of personal history. The illusions we see might seem outlandish or trivial, but they participate in life's ongoing narrative, blending old recollections with emergent themes. By the time we fully awaken, the night's ephemeral stories have left their mark, be it ever so slight, on our waking consciousness. You settle once more into the hush of nighttime, carried by that subtle inward current that leads from a drowsy twilight of thoughts into the depths of sleep. The prior reflections echo faintly. The ephemeral scenes, the elusive logic, and the emotional truths hidden in dreamscapes. Somewhere between losing awareness of your surroundings and entering oblivion, images coalesce again, Perhaps you reappear in the same environment from a previous night, or maybe your mind scripts something entirely new. Whichever it is, the continuity of unconscious exploration hints at an invisible framework guiding these illusions. Some researchers theorize that the brain orchestrates many narratives to integrate shifting emotional states. In simpler terms, if your day was fraught with tension, the dream might stage conflicts, chase scenes, or sudden catastrophes. If you felt uplifted, you might find yourself dancing at a celebration or ascending a mountain peak. Yet these correspondences aren't always literal. The dream might skew your tension into a labyrinth that traps you, or your sense of joy might manifest as flight across luminous skies. The mismatch of symbols and actual events can be confusing, but it likely mirrors how the mind translates intangible feelings into theatrical representations. A certain puzzle arises when we revisit disturbing dreams. Why, if these scenarios unsettle us, does the mind keep conjuring them? One explanation is that repeated confrontation can gradually desensitize the fear or trauma behind them. Another possibility is that the brain tries different scripts to see if any lead to resolution. If none do, the nightmares persist. This can become a cycle. The more you dread the dream, the more prominent it becomes. Intervening in that cycle often involves therapy or self-guided strategies, such as rewriting the nightmare's climax while awake and mentally rehearsing the new version before sleep. Success rates vary, but the principle stands. Dream content isn't entirely beyond our influence. On a different note, some individuals experience fleeting illusions known as hypnagogic or hypnopompic imagery, brief visions at the edges of sleep onset or awakening. These aren't always full-blown dreams, more like scattered impressions or swirling shapes. They can be eerily vivid, containing voices, flashes of memory, or bizarre geometric designs. A person might see a face pop out of the darkness or hear a snippet of music. Such phenomena demonstrate that the boundaries of consciousness can blur even before true sleep sets in, or just as the mind climbs back to wakefulness. These fragments, though short, reveal how the brain transitions from active perception to the dream-weaving mode. Meanwhile, theories about dream function grow more sophisticated. Beyond emotional regulation and memory consolidation, some suggest the sleeping brain tests hypothetical outcomes for real-world dilemmas. You might dream of quitting your job or confronting a friend over a grievance, and in the dream's fluid logic, you witness potential consequences, both rational and irrational. While you aren't guaranteed a neat solution, the process itself might offer a vantage point on feelings you ignore by day. Waking, you may recall only a vague scenario, yet the underlying emotional processing could shift your perspective slightly. The notion of problem-solving in dreams extends to creative fields. Historically, a handful of groundbreaking ideas have supposedly emerged in slumber. Some mathematicians describe seeing equations displayed in dream worlds. Certain musicians wake with melodies that came from nowhere. Artists have turned the images of their dreams into iconic works. Such accounts inspire many to keep a pen and paper near the bed, hoping to capture nighttime inspirations before they fade. There's no guarantee, of course. Most nights pass without a eureka moment. But the possibility that your mind can innovate during slumber underscores how much mental work continues behind closed eyes. And there's always the enigma of dream characters. Often, they resemble people you know, yet act out of character or speak with an unfamiliar voice. Other times, they're strangers, purely invented personalities that deliver lines you find profound in the moment. Could these be parts of your psyche externalized? Are they constructs built from random memory fragments? Do they embody something your conscious mind resists acknowledging? Analytic psychology might label them as shadow aspects or archetypal figures. Neuroscience would emphasize how networks of social cognition remain active in REM, generating illusions of social interaction. Both views can coexist. After all, the mind is fully capable of improvising personalities for dramatic effect, whether or not deeper symbolism lurks within them. Occasionally, such figures deliver cryptic warnings or helpful advice. Some dreamers report intense encounters with luminous or commanding entities, reminiscent of spiritual or mythic archetypes. These can leave a lingering impression of awe, as though you glimpsed a domain beyond personal memories. The rational view might label it as an especially vivid creation of your own imagination, but the dreamer often perceives it as an encounter with something other. This tension between subjective conviction and external explanation recurs throughout dream lore. Regardless of the truth, the emotional resonance can be life-changing. An especially rich area of study is how cultural background shapes dream content. For instance, individuals from collectivist societies might dream more frequently about familial or communal scenarios, while those from more individualistic contexts might see themselves grappling with personal achievements or conflicts. Mythological motifs, religious imagery, or culturally specific themes can appear. Even dream interpretation practices vary. Some cultures systematically analyze nighttime visions each morning, while others treat them as inconsequential. The interplay of universal human brain mechanisms and cultural learning makes dreams a mirror of both biology and environment. We also see how outside influences can trickle into dreams. External noises, like a neighbor's music, a dripping faucet, or a phone buzzing, may weave themselves into dream plots. A subtle shift in room temperature might set the stage for a desert scene or a freezing tundra. Light variations or scents sometimes color the dream's atmosphere. This phenomenon is akin to the brain explaining sensory intrusions by embedding them in a narrative. It's a testament to how the mind tries to synthesize every input, however minimal, into a coherent story. The same logic might apply to internal bodily signals, like a full bladder prompting a dream of searching for a restroom, or hunger pangs shaping images of feasts. A further curiosity is the difference between vivid dreams and those that feel muted or hazy. Some attribute especially intense colors or emotions to certain diet factors, medication side effects, or hormonal fluctuations. Pregnant individuals, for instance, often report especially elaborate dreams. Stress hormones can also play a part, amplifying the emotional dimension. The interplay of physiology and mental imagery is nuanced. A spike in adrenaline might yield nightmares, while certain antidepressants may alter dream recall or reduce the frequency of REM. In that sense, the content of your nightly illusions might be partially modulated by chemistry beyond your immediate control. Yet for all the talk of emotional and cognitive relevance, sometimes a dream is simply random, an incoherent jumble of images that defies any attempt at interpretation. You might flip from one bizarre scene to another with no continuity or emotional anchor. Possibly, the mind is discarding unneeded data, or perhaps these kaleidoscopic sequences reflect a looser, default mode of brain function, akin to daydreaming but unrestrained by conscious direction. Though some interpret every detail as symbolic, it's plausible that a subset of dreams truly are meaningless fluff, the brain's equivalent of rummaging through an attic. Continuing our exploration, we might ask why certain individuals dream in linear, film-like narratives, while others experience disjointed snapshots. Personality, creativity, and narrative thinking could all factor in. People who immerse themselves in stories through books, films, or their own writing may find their dreams adopt structured arcs. Meanwhile, more analytical minds might produce dreams that focus on single images or abstract concepts. There's no definitive rule, as dream formation remains a highly individualized phenomenon. Even the same person can alternate between cohesive dream plots and random collages from one night to the next. A separate angle touches on the existential dimension. Are dreams, in some sense, teaching us about the nature of reality? By slipping each night into a simulated universe that feels authentic yet dissolves upon waking, we discover how reliant perception is on the mind's construction. Philosophers have long posited that waking life might be another kind of dream, more stable, but still filtered through subjective lenses. Indeed, if illusions and dreams can mimic real sensations so convincingly, who's to say that we don't daily inhabit a carefully maintained mental model? Dreams then become a microcosm of how consciousness shapes experience, providing a perspective that things might not be as solid or external as they seem. Still, day-to-day concerns often overshadow these lofty reflections. You rise with an alarm, half recalling a peculiar storyline where old friends and mythical creatures shared a dinner table. The memory flickers, overshadowed by your schedule. Whether you see the dream as cosmic teaching or mere nighttime noise, you must carry on. In quiet moments, though, you might revisit that mental scene and wonder, what part of me produced that? And what does it signify? This tension between the demands of reality and the puzzle of subconscious narratives remains a hallmark of the human condition. Dreams don't vanish just because we ignore them. They persist as nightly voyages, shaping us quietly. In pursuit of mastering these nocturnal realms, some turn to meditation or mindful dreaming techniques. By stabilizing awareness through breath focus, they attempt to bring clarity into the dream state, akin to lucid dreaming, but fueled by a calm observation rather than deliberate manipulation. Advocates claim this fosters deeper insight, allowing them to witness the dreams unfolding with equanimity. Whether it yields spiritual growth or just a sense of wonder, the consistent report is that mindful approaches can amplify dream recall and lessen the chaos. Instead of being flung from scene to scene, the dreamer holds a gentle anchor in awareness. Another layer arises with memory reactivation in older adults. As people age, they may recall younger days more vividly in dreams, bridging the decades. This can be bittersweet. Happy memories reappear with clarity, but so might regrets or unresolved losses. The dream realm becomes a stage for reviewing life chapters, sometimes provoking nostalgia or prompting reflection on personal evolution. It can also help maintain a sense of identity, weaving the past into the present. Conversely, certain age-related changes in sleep structure can reduce dream intensity or frequency, highlighting again how biology and psychology intertwine. We can't ignore the potential role of social and technological changes in shaping dreams. Constant engagement with digital devices, social media, or virtual environments might bleed into nighttime illusions. Some people dream of scrolling through infinite feeds or attempting to speak with AI-like entities. Alternatively, individuals who immerse themselves in fantasy gaming might see related imagery intrude upon their dreams. The boundaries between virtual spaces and personal memory can blur, producing symbolic crossovers. This underscores how malleable dream content is, always ready to incorporate the influences saturating your waking experience. Amid these swirling possibilities, dream study stands at the intersection of multiple domains: neuroscience, psychology, anthropology, philosophy, and even art. Researchers publish studies correlating dream frequency with stress levels, or analyzing how dream themes shift over time. Therapists adapt dream work to help clients recognize unhealthy patterns. Artists harness dreamlike aesthetics to craft surreal visuals or narratives. Philosophers question whether dreams hold metaphysical weight, shedding light on the nature of consciousness. Few subjects sprawl as widely or remain as open to debate. If we step back, we see a grand mosaic. The nightly illusions we call dreams may reflect personal healing, memory sorting, creativity, fear processing, spiritual encounters, or mere random byproducts of neural housekeeping. They can be comforting or frightening, trivial or profound, bizarre or strangely logical. They adapt to cultural norms, personal beliefs, even daily diets. The same universal brain structures generate them in all humans, yet each dream is as unique as a fingerprint. In a sense, we share a communal physiology, but spin private mythologies while we sleep. Hence, the impetus behind dream journaling or reflection might be to catch a sliver of that private myth-making, gleaning self-awareness from it. If you track your dreams consistently, patterns emerge. You might notice certain recurring figures, symbolic events, or emotional tones. Over weeks and months, these can map out your inner landscape. Ambitions, wounds, fixations. Even if you avoid overinterpretation, noticing that you repeatedly dream of searching for something you cannot find might reveal a real-life longing. Such insights can nudge you to address issues that fester beneath conscious notice. This dynamic interplay between hidden drives and self-discovery is precisely why dream analysis persists despite skeptics who see little value in ephemeral fantasies. Dreams, ephemeral though they are, reflect genuine psychological processes in real time. The emotional resonance you feel upon waking, be it relief, sadness, or confusion, didn't materialize from nowhere. Something deep within you generated that emotional kaleidoscope using the language of images and metaphors. By listening, you might learn about corners of yourself otherwise left unexplored. For many, though, practical life demands overshadow these midnight messages. The alarm rings, chores beckon, and dream recollections slip away like footprints in the sand. Some greet that forgetting with relief, especially if nightmares are frequent. Others experience regret, longing to capture the fleeting brilliance. In any case, dreams remain a universal human phenomenon, bridging biology and psyche in an endlessly evolving conversation. They do so quietly, whether or not we attend to them. Each night, we partake in an age-old ritual, returning to the threshold of consciousness, sinking into worlds unbound by daily constraints. If the mind is an iceberg, the waking self is the tip. Dreams swim in deeper waters. By glimpsing them, we appreciate how much remains submerged. That can be humbling or thrilling or both. The illusions of night remind us that our mental lives extend beyond rational control. They highlight the creativity and unpredictability that hum beneath daily tasks. They offer a stage where emotions confront memories, forging ephemeral stories that vanish in the dawn. And yet, ephemeral doesn't mean inconsequential. Sometimes, the most intangible experiences carry potent influence. Thus continues the grand drama each night. People lie down, lulled by routines or unspoken worries. The body powers down, but the mind transitions through progressive sleep phases, culminating in REM bursts that spark vivid dream episodes. The content might be comedic, horrifying, nostalgic, or just plain odd. Meanwhile, in the background, all the physiological housekeeping continues. Muscles rest, cells repair, hormones balance. Come morning, some recall a fraction of this inner odyssey, while others greet the day with only a faint whisper of memory. Yet either way, the process has left subtle fingerprints on mood, perspective, or emotional equilibrium. Considering all these angles, dreaming appears as a central thread in the tapestry of human existence. It weaves daily experiences into flexible narratives, bridging past and present, weaving real concerns with imagined possibilities. Culture, biology, personal history, creative impulse, emotional tension. Each invests an invisible hand in shaping the scenes. The outcome is a nightly carnival that can be terrifying or enlightening, mundane or epic. Even if we forget them, dreams enact a hidden dance, supporting or challenging the self in ways we may never fully decode. The broader takeaway might be that sleep is not a single phenomenon. It's a layered process containing diverse mental states, each with unique interactions and purposes. Dreams form one luminous layer. Without them, we lose something intangible yet vital. Sleep labs confirm that when REM is interrupted frequently, individuals can develop mood dysregulation or cognitive deficits. This underscores that far from being frivolous flights of fancy, dreams coincide with essential brain functions. They might not always deliver messages from other realms, but they reflect the mind's attempt to handle the day's residue, test emotional boundaries, and keep the internal world in some form of equilibrium. Hence, you might find value in exploring your dreams, or you may prefer letting them slip away. Either choice is valid. The mind does its work regardless. But if curiosity tugs, you can attempt to remember more details, note them down, or see patterns over time. You might discover that a dream's bizarre facade hides apt commentary on your life. Or you might enjoy the simple wonder of stepping into fantastical domains every night, immersing yourself in narratives that abide by no rules but those your unconscious sets. In that sense, dreaming is a testament to the imaginative prowess we harbor, even when external senses are hushed. And so this third segment of our journey through slumber underscores how dreams are shaped by myriad forces, emotional undercurrents, cultural frameworks, random neural firings, bodily cues, and personal experiences. They can function as emotional regulators, creative catalysts, metaphysical glimpses, or trivial mind churn. We see that illusions are never just illusions. They hold echoes of who we are or who we might become. Each night is a mini rebirth of stories, forging an intimate tapestry invisible to the outside world. By morning, we slip back into shared reality, changed in ways large or small by those fleeting nocturnal sojourns. You wake from yet another vivid scene, carrying a faint sense of wonder. Perhaps you glimpsed unfamiliar landscapes, or relived a cherished memory woven into a surreal plot twist. As you shake off the lingering impressions, the bright logic of morning reasserts itself, reminding you of tasks ahead. And yet, just under the surface, a question remains. How do these nightly illusions shape the broader tapestry of who we are? Over the past reflections, we've seen dreams as emotional catalysts, memory weavers, creative sparks, or random filaments of neural churn. Now, in this final leg of the journey, let's gather the strands into a cohesive perspective, acknowledging both the marvel and the mystery that dreams embody. While many of us see sleep as a retreat, a refuge from wakeful burdens, those hours often become a stage for inner transformation. The concept that part of the mind never sleeps resonates with the repeated finding that the brain's activity remains dynamic. Even in the deepest phases of non-REM, there's a subtle interplay of memory consolidation and body repair. Then, as REM emerges, the canvas of the mind lights up like a theater at showtime. Certain regions engage in full color, forging illusions so engrossing they mimic reality's texture. This cyclical pattern through the night, the drifting in and out of dream-rich intervals, allows for a layered approach to rest. One part focuses on physiological rejuvenation, another dances with intangible narratives. In these ephemeral narratives, your sense of self can expand or contract. You might be the protagonist, the passive witness, or even shift identities mid-dream. Time warps, locations splice together, and improbable events unfold with natural ease. Beneath such distortions, emotional truths can glimmer. A dream about a vanished friend might convey feelings of guilt or longing you seldom acknowledge in daylight. A frantic chase may echo anxieties you brush aside at the office. By magnifying these emotions, dreams can prompt you, upon waking, to address them more consciously, if you're willing to look. Yet, in daily life, we rarely pause to decode these signs. Responsibilities beckon, and dream fragments slip through mental cracks. That's why some approaches encourage a slow, deliberate transition from sleep to waking, giving the mind a chance to catch hold of what it just experienced. Those who try it often find that memories of the dream remain sharper and deeper, sometimes leading to surprising realizations. Even a single snippet, like a phrase or an odd image, can spur reflection on hidden tensions. With practice, you might develop a more interactive relationship with your dream life, seeing it as a nightly commentary on your evolving psyche. From an evolutionary viewpoint, it's compelling to ask how a phenomenon so bizarre could persist if it lacked adaptive value. Children's nightmares might seem purely distressing, but perhaps they help youngsters rehearse responses to danger, forging resilience. Adult dreams, more nuanced, could refine social strategies or highlight unresolved traumas that hinder well-being. Biologically, the synergy of brain regions in REM fosters a unique environment for forging novel connections among memories. Freed from the linear editing of daylight logic, the mind can combine scattered elements in unexpected ways, potentially sparking solutions or fresh perspectives. Of course, not all illusions in sleep yield breakthroughs. Some nights, you get only fleeting, incoherent sequences. Other nights, you're immersed in sagas that feel unbelievably vivid. The difference might hinge on stress, emotional intensity, or pure chance. The unpredictability is part of the allure. You cannot command your mind to produce a particular dream with guaranteed success, though certain dream incubation techniques attempt to tilt the odds. By focusing intently on a question or scenario before bed, you might coax the brain to stage a relevant drama. Results are mixed, but occasional hits confirm that the boundary between conscious intention and unconscious creation is more permeable than we often assume. If we integrate spiritual or existential frames, dreams sometimes appear as portals to intangible realms, a notion spanning myriad cultural traditions. Shamans, mystics, or everyday believers may see the dream as a realm for communion with ancestors, spirits, or universal wisdom. These interpretations, while not easily verifiable by scientific means, remain powerful in shaping individual experiences. A dream might be recounted in tribal gatherings as guidance for communal decisions. In a different context, a person might treat the same dream as psychological data. The raw phenomenon is the same, but the lens transforms its perceived meaning. On the flip side, certain rationalist schools maintain that dreams are simply neural echoes, byproducts of memory reactivation without inherent significance. They argue that humans excel at pattern detection, so we attribute meaning to random patterns. Indeed, some dream imagery can be chalked up to coincidences. Yet even if large swaths of dream content are random, the mind's capacity to make sense of them may still yield real psychological effects. We're meaning-making creatures, and if we find resonance in a dream, that resonance can guide real choices. In that sense, illusions can become self-fulfilling prophecies or catalysts for growth, depending on how we interpret them. As we continue piecing together the puzzle, technology's role looms. One can imagine future devices that gently monitor brainwaves, adjusting stimuli to encourage beneficial dream content or mitigate nightmares. A beep or a light pulse timed precisely during REM might steer the dream in a calmer direction. Alternatively, we might gather comprehensive data on how each individual's dream patterns correlate with emotional well-being. Such developments could revolutionize mental health interventions. Yet they also raise ethical questions about privacy. Dreams are arguably the most intimate frontiers of our mental life. Should we welcome interventions that shape or record them, or do we risk commodifying and intruding upon something profoundly personal? On a more tangible level, the link between trauma and dream content has become a vital area in clinical psychology. Individuals with post-traumatic stress often endure recurrent nightmares that replay horrific events. While harrowing, these nightmares also reflect the mind's attempt to process overwhelming experiences. Therapies designed to re-script these dreams or to gradually desensitize the individual show promise in reducing their intensity and frequency. Progress can be slow, but it underscores how dreams mirror deep psychological wounds and how skillful engagement can facilitate healing. The dream thus stands revealed as a domain where the aftershocks of real-life tragedies still resonate, awaiting resolution. In a different vein, the pursuit of lucid dreaming has grown from a niche interest to a more widespread curiosity. Workshops, apps, and online communities dedicated to conscious dreaming proliferate. Enthusiasts share techniques like reality checks, glancing at your watch throughout the day so that if it behaves oddly in a dream, you realize you're asleep. Once lucid, the dreamer might experiment, flying, crafting environments, conversing with dream figures, or seeking introspective insight. Some claim that repeated practice yields a realm of unparalleled freedom, where the usual boundaries vanish. Critics wonder if harnessing that degree of control undermines the dream's natural function. But participants often report an exhilarating sense of empowerment and creative expansion. Yet even among adept lucid dreamers, not all experiences are pleasant. Sometimes, illusions take a dark turn, forcing them to confront deeply rooted fears. The mind does not always comply with conscious commands. This phenomenon highlights that while we can learn to steer certain aspects of the dream, the unconscious has its own momentum. That interplay between the dreamer's agency and the primal currents of the psyche can foster remarkable self-discovery. Waking up from a lucid confrontation with an archetypal nightmare figure might leave someone forever altered, gleaning courage from having faced an embodiment of dread in the safe confines of slumber. Dream analysis in group settings can be equally revealing. When individuals share dream stories, they often discover that seemingly personal symbols resonate with others, reflecting universal themes of belonging, fear, love, or transformation. We see how illusions of night can unify people through shared archetypes or collective anxieties. Taboos, unspoken desires, or social conflicts sometimes emerge more boldly in dreams than in ordinary conversation. Discussing these stories can break emotional barriers, sparking empathy or communal healing. In that sense, dreams are not just personal illusions, but potential social connectors, bridging differences through universal emotional language. Occasionally, a dream narrative can blend into daydreaming or imaginative reverie. A half-lucid state after waking might let you expand on an unfinished dream scenario, bridging the unconscious with conscious creativity. Artists or writers sometimes cultivate this transitional zone, gleaning images that carry dreamlike potency into their waking projects. The fluid boundary underscores that the line between dream and day can be porous. Many of humanity's most enduring myths and folklore, replete with fantastical elements, likely grew from such transitions, weaving dream logic into communal storytelling. If you were to map out a single night's dream episodes, you'd likely see a trajectory from simpler, more fragmentary early cycles to more elaborate REM spectacles closer to dawn. Over multiple nights, this pattern repeats, shaping a hidden continuity that accompanies your waking continuity. The sum total of these illusions, from early childhood to old age, forms a parallel narrative of your life. Although most vanish from memory, they still shape your emotional arcs in ways you might never fully track. Their cumulative effect might be subtle, infusing day-to-day interactions with half-remembered sentiments or calibrating your stress threshold. Indeed, advanced age can bring new dream patterns. Some elders experience a resurgence of childhood or adolescent memories in their dreams, merging them with end-of-life reflections. Others note an increased recurrence of departed loved ones, as though the boundary between living and dead blurs more readily at night. This can yield comfort, reliving cherished moments, or spark sorrow if regrets are left unresolved. In a gentle way, these illusions may prompt life review, encouraging acceptance or final closure. They stand as reminders that dreaming evolves with us, addressing the concerns of each life stage. For those curious about the future, imagine a horizon where we better understand the neural codes of dreaming. Perhaps we develop an algorithm that interprets broad emotional or thematic content from your EEG patterns in real time. You might receive a morning summary. Tonight's dream likely involved social conflict, mild anxiety, and elements of exploration. This might augment self-awareness or help track mental health over months. More futuristic still, some dreamers might voluntarily share these coded recaps with therapists or close confidants, forging a daily feedback loop that integrates the unconscious. Yet, as with any technology that peers into the mind, the potential for misuse or overreach is large. The dream realm's very privacy is part of what allows unfiltered expression. So we stand at a threshold. Historically, dreams were mystical, then rendered objects of scientific study, and now seen as a frontier of possible real-time data. Through it all, the illusions themselves remain ephemeral each morning, refusing total capture. That ephemeral nature might be the key to their power, providing a cyclical cleansing of mental and emotional residue. You wake up with a fresh vantage, even if you cannot articulate how you arrived there. The illusions might be fleeting, but their imprint can endure, setting the tone for your day, or even your life choices. Embracing that ephemeral magic, some simply enjoy the strangeness. They drift off, content to let the mind swirl in extravagance or subtle reflection. Upon waking, they might share a funny snippet with friends or shrug off a disjointed scenario. Others delve deeper, analyzing symbolic layers, relating them to personal growth. Both approaches are valid. Dreams do not demand interpretation to function. Yet those who do engage often testify to a richer sense of self-discovery. The illusions are not random flickers, but a clue-laden labyrinth that, once traversed, can reveal hidden corridors of the heart. In capturing the essence of everything we've explored, we see that dreaming merges biology, psychology, culture, spirituality, and personal narrative into a nightly phenomenon that defies any single definition. These illusions can take many forms in our sleeping minds. They can act as therapeutic tools, helping us process trauma, reduce stress, and reorder emotional chaos. They can serve as creative engines, sparking novel ideas, symbols, or solutions that nourish artistic and innovative endeavors. They may function as social mirrors, reflecting shared fears or hopes and connecting individuals through universal archetypes. They sometimes present themselves as spiritual windows, offering transcendent encounters that leave the dreamer convinced of deeper realities. They also work as a testing ground, allowing the mind to rehearse future possibilities, replay past events, and glean new insights. Or they might appear as random collages, fleeting and seemingly meaningless, woven of images that dissolve without leaving a trace. No single label suffices, for the dream realm is as wide as the human mind. Each night, you slip into this domain, your physical senses subdued, but your internal senses alive and unbound. The illusions might be whimsical or grim, comforting or disturbing, momentous or trivial. Yet cumulatively, they paint a portrait of how you adapt, evolve, and reconcile the layers of your being. Whether you interpret them as cosmic signals or neuronal side effects, they remain a core facet of human existence, one that shaped mythologies, animates individual healing, and spurs future scientific quests. Ultimately, we come to the conclusion that these illusions, far from frivolous or secondary, are integral to understanding ourselves. They represent a conversation the psyche holds with itself in code, blending ephemeral glimpses and recurring motifs. By day, we speak in direct language. By night, we switch to metaphors and dream logic. The entire cycle weaves the storyline of personal identity, bridging conscious aims with unconscious inclinations. Accepting their dual nature, both intangible and impactful, can deepen self-awareness. Even a fleeting dream can echo in your mood or your decisions, reminding you that the mind never truly sleeps. It only shifts vantage, exploring new vantage points on the continuum of consciousness. When you next close your eyes, let these reflections guide you into an appreciative stance. You may remember nothing, or you may unearth a puzzle that lingers at breakfast. You might greet it with curiosity, letting it lead you to a small realization about how you feel or what you need. Or you might laugh at the absurd storyline that collapses under rational scrutiny. Whichever path arises, know that the illusions of night are your mind's way of staying alive and pliable, forging links you never knew existed. They are proof that behind the restful facade of slumber, a dynamic creative engine churns ceaselessly, weaving ephemeral dreams that help shape who you are in the light of day.